So, news report out from Reuters about ISIS and the consequences of bombing them. Now, I love this article. The reason I love it is not because of the devastation you're about to find out, but because finally somebody's saying, hey, wait a minute now, maybe bombing them does have consequences. You know, we showed you over the last couple of days Republicans like McCain and Bill Kristol and Peggy Noonan coming out and saying, what, just bomb them, boom, boom, boom. What difference does it make? We just kill them. It's too easy. Well, Reuters investigated what difference it makes by going on the ground and talking to the local Shia, the local Kurds there. So let me start with a small piece of good news. First, they explained that the unlikely coalition of Kurdish Peshmerga fighters, Shi'ite militias, and the U.S. Air Force won a major victory when it broke a siege of the Shiite Turkmen town of Amarli last week and drove Islamic State from 25 nearby Sunni towns and villages. In fact, they go on to explain later in the report that along with the Kurds, we've driven them out of 127 villages overall, and Amarli is a very important town, so a big town and a bunch of smaller villages. That's the good news. Okay, now the bad news. So what has happened during the fighting and after the fighting? Okay, Reuters explains. But the aftermath is far from what the Americans envisioned. Smoke now rises from those Sunni villages where some houses have been torched by the Shiite militia. But wait, it gets worse. Guess what the Shiite militia learned from ISIS? Beheadings. So there's a report of a mom saying that her young son ran from the Islamic State, ran from ISIS, okay? And Shiites in that part of town, or in that next town that he was in, captured him and said he was ISIS, when he was in fact running from ISIS. And they cut his head off anyway. Now another video has emerged of Shiite militia cutting off more Sunni heads. Now everybody's cutting off heads. And then there's a third report about how Shiite militia, and there's pictures standing next to houses that they burnt down. All right, now, when is this all going to end? I mean, if the Shiite and the Kurds win against the Sunnis, those are the three ethnic groups basically that we've got in Iraq, well, then can we have peace at that point? Well, a Shiite volunteer explains, the Sunnis will come back to their villages, but not now, after a few months. Now pause to think about that for a second. A giant chunk of Iraq is Sunni. That's the part that ISIS took over, right? With the help of a lot of the local populations, they were tired of getting run over by the Shiites who weren't running a real democracy in Iraq. So now the Shiites are saying, no, we're gonna take all those towns back and we're gonna kick all the Sunnis out. And maybe we let them back in a couple of months. So what, tens of millions of people, where are they gonna go? And are you sure they're really gonna be let back? The Shiite militia is already cutting heads off and burning down the houses. I don't think that they're much of a sense to let them back in a couple of months. Even if they did, that's still an unbelievable disaster. Okay, it gets worse. Now we go to a member of the Kurdish security services, and he says, all my neighbors were Arabs. Now most of them are with the Islamic State. We cannot be mixed together. The only solution is for them to leave. So the Kurds and the Shiite that we are helping with our Air Force now are in agreement, okay? We're gonna stop ISIS and their reign of terror, and when we are done with that, we are going to impose our own reign of terror. And when we do, none of the Sunnis are welcome. We're gonna kick them all out of Iraq. There are no good answers here. And the point I'm making is, you think just bombing them is the answer? You don't know the half of it, you don't know the third of it, you don't know any of it, okay? So these neocons who just say, oh, let's just blunder in there and fight, and kill, they don't have a clue as to what's happening on the ground. All right, now more. But even during the operation, Reuters explains, there were cracks in the coalition. Shiite militia and Kurdish forces fought under their own banners, and the least visible flag was that of Iraq. So, as we've been telling you now for about 12 years, there is no such thing as Iraq. The Shia don't feel any kinship with the Sunni there. Those are the two major sects of Islam. The Kurds, who are Sunni but a different ethnicity, don't feel any kinship with the Arab Sunnis. or with the Shiites. The flag of Iraq is an invention of the British Empire. They don't give a damn about this thing you call Iraq. So the best idea was always to split them, and while we had a chance, we argued to split them amicably. Now they're being split not amicably, okay? Not only is it not on good terms or decent terms, it is on barbaric terms. So now if ISIS splits them, well, then they have this terror state right in the middle of the Middle East. If we drive ISIS out of there, then God knows what's going to happen to the innocent Sunnis of that area. Tens of millions of people. Then we're going to have to go in and rescue the Sunnis and then fight the Shiites and the Kurds who we are now aligned with. There is no end to this. Reuters explains further. Now that the common enemy has been pushed back, the alliance is unraveling. Kataib Hezbollah, which controls access to Amerli, is denying Kurds entry to the town, and one Peshmerga commander, and that's the Kurdish militia, described the militia as the Shi'ite Islamic State. Great! We beat the Sunni Islamic State, and in its place, we have the Shi'ite Islamic State. Remember, those are the guys we're currently helping. All right, finally, when you ask a Kurdish fighter about the Shia, here's what he says. This land is ours. They are an occupying force. There will be bigger problems in the Islamic State in this area. So the Kurds basically saying, once we're done being allies with the Shiites for this temporary problem of the Islamic State, then we go to real war. Remember, the Shia are the majority in so-called Iraq and run the government. Do the Kurds look like they want to be run by the Shia? The answer is not simple. It takes a lot of strategy, clear thinking, and hard work to come up with any kind of decent answer in this situation. But if you hear anyone on television, and almost everyone on television is saying this, saying, oh, it's okay, ISIS is evil, so we just bomb evil, we kill evil, and problem solved. Read the facts. Problem nowhere near solved.